May I now request our guest of honor, Mr. Hariom Rai, Chairman and Managing Director, Lava International Limited. Please join us on the podium and share his thoughts. Good morning, sir.
So good morning to everyone, and thank you, TAGMA President and TAGMA people, for inviting me. Let me share some of the insights first about our industry, because when I saw the entire program list, I could not find anybody from electronics side. So the IT and electronics, we see it together. We don't see it separately because software and hardware is all together. And put together, this industry generates a revenue of about $4 trillion globally. And $4 trillion gets multiplied at least 4 times to create about $17 trillion of global GDP because of the entire supply chain and the economic multiplier. And the valuation of the companies in this industry, in electronics and tech, is about $23 trillion, which is more than a fourth of the total global valuation. So it's a very, very important industry, very critical for any country. Now, from this industry perspective, let me come to India perspective and the opportunity what we have. In India, we started with, in mobile manufacturing specifically because we came from the mobile industry, we recognize that it is very critical for us to understand that India somehow people erroneously think is a large market, but it is not, because we are just 3.1% of the global GDP. So we cannot be more than 3.1% of the global consumption put together. And for example, in our segment, in mobile manufacturing, mobile consumption, we are 5% or 5.5% of the global mobile consumption. So with this thought process, we cannot build an ecosystem of scale. And therefore, what we are looking at is to create an ecosystem of global scale in India, targeting the world. That's the most important thing I wanted to let you people know, because we are 18% of the global population, surviving on a mere 3.1% of the global GDP, is because of what we leaders have done to our country. And it's all our fault, specifically leaders from the industry. Why I'm telling you leaders from the industry and not the government? Because frankly, let me just give you some insights about myself. I have run 3 businesses prior to Lava, and fortunately, local businesses, and we were number 1 in all the businesses we've done in India. And in Lava, amongst the domestic company, we are by far the number 1, but we got badly disrupted. It was then that I recognized, that I used to think I'm a great leader, but I recognized that in India, the competition is not between good and great, it is between poor and worse. So we won because, not that I was great, because others were not sort of that, I would say it's a poor or worse fight. And the second thing I recognize is that the competition is not between companies, the global competition, it is between countries. And unless the country gets invoked, we cannot do the globally competitive business. So I had 2 choices. One is to come in the supply chain of large global companies, build a 40-50,000 crore company, and as they say, lived happily ever after. Or 2, to change the way the country thinks. And after meeting the political level and also at the bureaucratic level, I found the situation is same. The competition between poor and worse. And it's a truth of the country. And when I recognized that, I took the choice of going on the second side. And I started working very deeply with the government. And the most important thing is, I recognize that government is looking for solutions. So therefore, in my mind, it was the entrepreneur, specifically at the high level, who has dished the country by not taking the responsibility of bringing the change desired in the country. So now what is the kind of change we are bringing? Just to let you know, so we started the mobile manufacturing when we came in the industry about 2014 with 18,000 crore of manufacturing. Now we manufacture 3 lakh crore of mobile, and after doing this entire mobile manufacturing, we said that, okay, how can we export? So the PLI construct came because we had disabilities as compared to China and other countries. So we injected the PLI as a, I would call it a steroid to export, because we have to create the ecosystem. But fundamentally, it is not for the long term. It is just a steroid for the short term. We have to create an ecosystem. And what we are now working on is competitiveness. And in this competitiveness agenda, we are working on every single element of cost which goes in making a product, which means whether it is the capital cost or infrastructure or machinery or labor or power or whatever, I'm not logistics, etc., everything. And we are determined that we'll be able to bring every single cost down by certain strategies and policies which we are ensuring that the government and the country must follow. And by that, we believe that we'll be able to create a very large industry in India, because fundamentally we are looking at 2 strategic measures. I would like to say that it's about winner takes all principle. We cannot produce 5-7% or 10% of the global manufacturing in our sector specifically. We are looking at producing about 50% of the global mobile manufacturing and electronics manufacturing in the next 10 years' time. And we want to manufacture it in a manner that the bottom 50% of the labor-oriented supply chain is manufactured in India in such a manner that remaining world takes this, they cannot be globally competitive without taking our bottom supply chain to manufacture their product which they require globally. So what I'm talking, let's understand the scale at which we are talking. So just to let you know, only in 20 months, Apple has been able to produce about $8 billion of mobile phone, and it's just the beginning. They must produce $100 billion of mobile phones and their all products in India in the next 7 to 10 years. So it's a very large sector which we are looking at developing, and we are looking at, for example, after 2020, after Galwan, the Chinese manufacturing or the supply chain has stopped coming in, but now government has decided that they are going to be allowed in the JVs, and we need to bring those skills required. In our industry, we work in microns in the tooling side. So we need those skills and scale. These are the 2 things we require, and we are looking at building this industry at a very, very large global scale. And in terms of support, when you spoke from the heart, we must come together and really deserve to get what we want, actually. And once we deserve to get what we want, there is no doubt that we'll get it. In our industry, lastly, let me give you just 2-3 things, that the JVs are being allowed with the Chinese companies, and we are doing as a company the first JV with the #1 mobile and tablet manufacturers of the world, along with the supply chain. So there's a very large opportunity, I would like to say, is coming into our industry. And there's a very large, very different vision with which you have to take, look at this electronics industry the way we are building it. And so look at the scale, have the JVs, and there are opportunities coming in. Let us engage a little more, because you people are working a little differently, because we have not been working together probably so deeply. So there's an opportunity coming. Let us look at scale and skills, and we are working at bringing the entire competitiveness in the country. So let us engage together and create something phenomenal for the country and for industry and for ourselves. Thank you.